So, in order to start the interview, I think it would be important for us to go down the line and have everybody introduce themselves and tell us how you're involved with the film, starting with, of course, Abigail.
Okay, so I'm Abigail. I do have to wait for that. I'm Abigail Zealey Bess, the director.
I'm Diana Roop. I play Louise. And this is my mother, Carol. Hello. And I'm also Carol Venice, and I have a small role in the film.
You played the elegant. You were the elegant lady. The elegant lady. Elegant lady.
Okay, so I first off, because there's so much to ask about this film, one of the first things I want to ask you, Abigail, is being the director. Let's talk a bit about casting, because sometimes I do different elements. I want to know why her?
Why her? Well, first of all, she's an amazing actress. Secondly, the project was actually created around these two actors, which was Mich and Diana Rook, and so it was kind of already cast in many ways. But we've been collaborating together for many years,
Yes.
so it wasn't in any way difficult to cast Diana, because that was the part she was casted.
So you never hesitated or thought to yourself, maybe a different actor or actress?
No.
I'm just trying to figure out, what is it about her that really embodied that character?
Well, the thing is about, I think what Amy, we have to give credit to the writer as well. Amy wrote this part for both of them, because she knew the qualities of both of them, which was with Diana, it was a lot of sexiness. She has a lot of charisma. She really knew how to pinpoint this character, which is very specific. You know, Louise Brooks was very magical, was very enigmatic, and Diana has all those qualities. So it wasn't really not difficult to imagine her doing that. Plus, I like to work with actors that I love, and I love her.
Oh, how lovely.
There you go.
Oh my goodness, that's lovely, lovely.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch gears to the very end of the table. Question for you, because we all know there's no small ones. So I want to know specifically what drew you to this project, and more importantly, tell me a bit about what it's like to work with Abigail, because I imagine when you put a production like this, it's so elegant. What is it like to be in that realm, working with her?
It's interesting that that's your follow-up question, because that is the main reason I was drawn to the project. And anything Abigail is doing, we've worked together for a number of years and in different media, and anything she's doing, I would be happy to be a part of. This was a particularly magical production because it looks at the beginnings of film history and a different time in Hollywood when things just worked differently. And also the story of two women and their friendship and their real bond. That was a particularly beautiful aspect of this film. And working with Abigail, always a joy. That's what it's like, always a joy. I mean, you're always finding fun things. And she has an ability to always, because in any project, there are the highs and lows during your development. She just sails above. She just keeps sailing, so everybody has to rise to the occasion, and it's always a joy.
Oh my goodness, look at that. So, question for you, because of course she's a female director, not a male director, and I'm assuming, of course, that you've done other projects. So, what is the primary difference do you find in working with a female director? Obviously, you're a female actor as well. Is there any real benefit? Meaning, are you more comfortable working with a female? I just want to get your sense of things, because every set is different, every director is different. But how does she, as a female director, stand out to you and make you want to keep coming back all the time?
Well, I think the thing about human beings is we're also individual, and every experience, it's about the human being that you're working with more than are they male or female. But I would say that in Weird Sisters especially, Abigail's production company, we definitely pay attention to the female point of view and female-based stories, like the idea that this was, the real linchpin of this is the love and friendship between these two women, these two actresses in early Hollywood. So that always comes through.
Yeah, of course.
And because you're an active person in the film, let me ask you, what do you like most about this film?
It's just so
I know,
It's
right?
just so magical.
Yes.
I keep going back to the story. The real core going through it is the love and friendship between these two women.
Yes.
That combined with the old Hollywood feel and references to that, like the calendar pages going, but all the little notes that make it old classic Hollywood with this deep female friendship behind it.
That brings up a good question, Abigail, back to you. I want to ask about this because oftentimes when we talk about making films, one of the biggest concerns is, of course, budget. So when you go back to doing the movie that's set back like that, we're talking costumes, we're talking sets that are different. So how do you accommodate that? Is it more costly? How do you, one of the filmmakers that'll be watching this is a younger person. I'm going to show this interview, and they've been grasping at straws to figure out how do you make it work if you have a period piece and you have a limited budget. How does that work? How do you make it work?
Well, you do a really lot of research. You also get a really very strong team behind you. The crew, and I'm just looking at this picture now of Denny and Lou with the camera equipment, which was lovely, thank you, mate. Which was actually a genuine camera from that time.
Yes.
We had a really incredible cast of crew. I mean, I can't really express how much they were great. Who really went out of their way to get the authentic look. They knew the authentic look and they went for the authentic look. So, at the end of the day, I can't remember how much it cost because it's a really long time ago. But that we made it. But
I was curious about that too. Like, did they bring their own costumes?
No,
like I have a flapper costume at home.
no.
Things like
We had
that.
a costume,
Okay.
a really fantastic. That's what I mean. We had a really fantastic crew. They were fantastic designers who really went into, who had all of those backgrounds to get Charlotte Palmer, who got the costumes.
Okay.
And then Amy Titer, who got all the props. And then Tim Bruno, was it Tim Bruno? Yeah, Tim Bruno, and there were some really amazing people that created the whole look.
Well, can I chime in? Because
Yes,
I
go on,
actually
do it.
helped with
Do it.
costumes.
Oh, and she did too, yeah.
At
She
the
did.
last minute, the very day before shooting, I got a call. I'm like, I'm trying to prepare for my role, and they needed my help. So Amy, the writer, and I went to Beacon's Closet, and we
Oh my
got
gosh.
at the thrift store, pulled a bunch of stuff that we actually did end up using, like at the last minute.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we had a limited budget, and
Sure.
we spent it, and it worked. Like we figured out that what's it called? With the towel on the head. What's his name?
Oh yeah, that was for the
Dominic
Compataro, who
What was
played
the character?
Rudolph Valentino.
Rudolph Valentino. We actually realized that because Amy watched a bunch of old footage, it just looks like an old sheet on his head. So he has an old sheet on his head.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and one thing we got, Abigail was like, this is horrible. And I was like, but we worked so hard at the last minute. I can't, it's like a straw hat or something. You were like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff we cobbled together, like little odds and ends, at Beacon's Closet for nothing.
Huge collaboration.
Yeah.
I think it was a huge collaboration
Yeah.
in so many ways. Which is like, okay, does this work? Does this work? Everybody
Makeup was, they were
Yeah, and
so
the hair and makeup was fucking amazing, actually. With the Nosferatu
Yes.
gift that you saw.
Yes.
I mean, and he was so patient as well. Chris was so fucking patient with that whole procedure because that took a long time, and it's one shot in the movie, which is at the beginning. But he was very, everybody was so engaged and so dedicated to making this film. So it was really quite an experience, right? In many ways, for all of us, it was. Everyone believed in it in many ways, and there's so many stories to tell, so I don't want to go on and on. But
the pony.
But yeah, the
We didn't have a
the
lean-to to
miniature
sleep on, and then so the pony was very grumpy during shooting. And Amy at one point turned to me, she goes, "I hate."
But I loved Molly because Molly was a piebald, and we went to this miniature farm upstate, which to choose the miniature pony. and there were 3 ponies that were in it was like casting a pony. It was kind of wild. And then and Amy really liked the white pony, which you had to think about black and white. That was the other thing. But I said, but the piebald will look great. The piebald will look great because it's black and white.
Sure.
Which she did. She was
Yes,
gorgeous, but
absolutely.
she was younger and she was kind of a little eccentric and could be. She would bite people.
She bit some.
Oh.
She bit people. So, but
Ooh,
I was
Lordy.
like, but it was. I mean, again, it was just there were so many elements of this film that were crazy. It was like, why would you do this? And we originally, this is the other thing, we were going to shoot Molly was supposed to be in the apartment, but she wouldn't go up the stairs.
So you
And
just had to make do with what
Yeah,
you got.
we
'cause it's an
changed
animal.
everything
Sure.
to have Molly outside, exterior, but she should have been in the apartment. And all those scenes where you see Diana and Amy,
Yes.
but she wasn't because she wouldn't go upstairs.
Ah.
And we built this whole platform. It took like, it was a nutty time, but I don't regret any of it at all. It was like, why would you, right?
Yes. Now I have to ask Mom a question. So just so the folks know that are
Yes,
listening
go
in,
on.
I asked Abe Mom to be in this particular panel because oftentimes if people watch or listen to my show, one of the things we talk about quite a bit is parents and talking about how they feel about their children getting into the creative industry, in particular being an actor. Because oftentimes you run across parents that are like, get a real job. And they're always talking about the arts in different ways. So since we have a bona fide parent in the audience here today, we'll have you introduce yourself. And tell us a bit about the first time that your child came home and said, I want to be an actor, and what that experience has been like for you as a parent.
Well, my name is Carol, Diana's mother, and she studied economics with it, finance in college and everything. When she came home and said she wanted to be an actress, it was like, what? But I figured if this is what she really wants to be, then fine. That's fine. I'm happy with it. And she's happy with it. So,
Yes.
that's
What
it
is
counts.
what is an experience like this? Meaning when you're sitting here in a room and you're seeing your child and watching some of that. Do you see any of yourself there in that character and her as she's portraying things?
Actually, I don't.
But that's not a bad thing.
But I thought it was done so well. I thought, the scenes and the outfits and the acting, not just because it's my daughter,
Yes.
but, I look at it from a different perspective because she's my daughter who's making a story. That one part, it kind of shocked me, but.
Oh, really, Mom? What part might that be? In case you folks didn't see the movie.
She was
I'll let you
born.
guess.
She was born.
Mom, it shocked me too. I was like, what is she doing? And I want to know how she's doing it. I'm like,
I think we were all a little disappointed in that scene.
I have a story to tell that my mom maybe will remember or not, but when I was little, I did a play, and I guess a lot of mothers were coming up to her and saying, oh, your daughter's really good. And then my mom, we were sitting at the kitchen table, I'll never forget this, and she said, Diana, once I saw Angela Lansbury, we lived outside DC. She said at the Kennedy Center, and when she walked on stage, she lit up the stage, and you have that. That's what she said, and so even though you might not remember that, like things like that you hear as a kid.
sure.
She was very good.
Ah.
Parents were coming up to me afterwards and they said, she's very good. Not just for grade school. She's a good actress. It's like, oh, sweet. But, of course, I want her to do something she really enjoys.
Sure.
And she does well.
yes.
And so, there we go. I'm happy for her.
Now, do you and her father come from the creative arts? Did she have a creative background to begin with?
No, not at all. Though I, in some ways, might say her father was a good actor. Big. We're only married about 5 years, from South Carolina.
Ah.
But I'll tell you, they know what they're doing, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, his family is very nice. And, but, you know.
Huh. Look at that. So if I were
Yeah,
to...
but I'm not really, the only way I'm creative, like, I could never get up on stage and do that. I mean, I think it's wonderful when people have that talent and everything. Like, I wasn't artistic when I was young, but that's about it.
I beg to differ with you. I bet you could go on stage.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just throwing that out there. So I just have two more questions for your mom. The first of which is, if I were to ask you your favorite production of hers to date, what would it be?
Actually, I think I don't know. I kind of like this and that. And well, maybe it's because it's fresher in my mind, but I really like it. I like the set. I like the acting. Everybody, you know, did well, and I think she did extremely well. And she was great up there too. And it was just, yeah. I guess it's my favorite now.
So if I were to ask you, because like I said,
Yeah.
a lot of the people that listen in to when I interview people, we talk a lot about the parents in terms of how they stand as far as the creative arts. So if someone happens to see this interview and they happen to be a parent, what would you advise them, or what would you say to them in terms of, not everyone embraces this necessarily. I oftentimes listen to people do interviews and they say, oh, my mom and dad always said, you know, go get a 9-to-5 job or have a fallback, etc., etc. What would you advise parents in terms of accepting someone who takes a path with the creative arts that really, honestly, today is very topsy-turvy, up, down. It's not a guaranteed way of living.
Well, it has something that you can fall back on.
Yes.
But I think that if you really love it, go for it. Try it. And, you know, as long as you can get by on it and everything like that, and you're happy and satisfied, I think go for it. I mean, you look at the happiness bring to people, the fun, you know, I mean, like, I'd say, do it. You know, I mean, like, I never tried to talk about it.
No, never.
No.
She was like, what?
I mean, and then she was like, yeah, she's gonna finance. I thought she's gonna make the big bucks for herself, you know.
Ah.
But every time I got like a job, a little job, and some jobs, my mom was thrilled and so excited. Like every job I get, she's really thrilled.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody ever. My grandfather was a little weird about it. But you know, we just all ignored it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So just so you know, that character up there that your daughter portrays, when I look in her eyes, now that I have met you, I see your face. So make no mistake that there is a part of you that is in her character from what I can see. I just thought you should know that. I know so. I'm a mom. So, you know, there's those things.
But I don't, yeah.
That's because you're
it's
mom.
difficult.
Yes, absolutely. And I never get to hear it enough. So other people tell me that all the time when they see something. They say, you know, you were present
I'm
there. So
flattered.
you should know that you're present in her. I just don't think you see it, as you said, but you're present there. And I'm sure if you asked her, she would probably tell you.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Now back to you, young lady. So 2 questions that I have for you, outside of the ones that I've asked already, which is, would you again do a black and white? Do you generate to doing black and white film? Or what's happening in your world in terms of, we should talk about what you're doing acting-wise. And would you do a production, something similar to this again?
I'd be happy to do black and white again. Abigail and I have worked together on several films that were black and white, but it's not something that I'm like looking for per se.
Sure.
I like roles that are enticing and challenging and satisfying, and maybe more importantly, companies and groups of collaborators that are of a like mind and have a certain expectation of what the work is about.
Sure.
Coming in at a certain level of like, yeah, this is what we do, and making it about the work and having a passion for it. That's maybe the most important thing I want.
Now, when I met you earlier, and I had the good fortune of being able to talk to these beautiful beings before we came in here, one of the things I had thought about was, am I wrong in thinking that you two, meaning the director, Abigail, and yourself, could have switched places and I could have seen you directing this? You.
I
Am I
could not
mistaken? I kid you
recommend
not.
this.
I for like a hot minute, not to
Abigail
take away from you, but I was like, I wonder what it would have been like.
Abigail
for a
could
person to direct
definitely
this.
act it. I've seen her act.
Well,
It's
yes,
fabulous.
yes.
I could not direct that.
Well, I don't have the background to direct.
Sure.
I just don't.
What do you think about
She
these
has
two
a-
being
she
the
has a
leads?
facet of, oh yeah.
Like these two could have.
Yeah.
There's my Mary and Louise right here.
That'd be fascinating.
She says no, but I don't believe her. I'm like, no, I think she's maybe fibbing. a little
I
bit.
like directing.
Okay, so we won't do her in the acting thing. Okay, so that brings us to our main actor. Now, I saved her for last for a reason because you folks would not know this, but I was terribly intimidated to meet her. Usually, whenever I screen a film, there's always one actor that stands out, and she is my standout. First of all, most of you wouldn't know this, but it's almost like watching myself. There's a lot of me in that particular character. I have a very ballsy attitude, and I'm very sassy and silly and over the top and very eccentric, and well, except for that one scene, which I've never done, and I won't. You have to watch the movie, folks, to see the one scene. Yes. Outside of that particular thing, yes, there's a lot of me in there, and withstanding that, so I have some general questions. First of which being, when you were preparing to do a role like this, obviously there's a number of factors. I see, when I look at that particular character, not only do I see her as the stronger of the two characters, more sane, and more importantly, I think she's more charismatic. Not to take away from the other character, but these are just some of the things. So, are you by nature that character to begin with, or did you really have to dig in a bit, do a little bit of research before you started?
I'm not by nature like that at all, but there's a side of me that is, and I get cast like that a lot, and especially Abigail casts me like that a lot. And it's something I easily tap into, but it's not at all who I am. I remember I did a little movie a long time ago, and the guy, like my boyfriend, was like talking to me as if I was like that character. I'm like, I'm not like this at all. I was wearing
Right.
a skimpy outfit. And he's like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not. I guess I have a wild side on the inside.
Sure, I think we all kind of do actually.
Yeah.
What was the chemistry like with the other lead character? Because I know when I talk to some actors, they go on stage and literally, or screen for this matter, and they don't know a person from Adam. They're literally introduced for 5 minutes and it's like, boom, camera on and go. So what was the experience like? Did you know her? And moreover, what was her, in your mind, the biggest strength of your other lead character?
Well, I'm really flattered that you think that I stand out in the film, but to me, Amy is the one that stands out in the film. I think she, even like the screening, like, she's so funny and she's so talented, and it's her writing as well. But we were also great friends at the time, and so it was pretty easy. Like,
And we did a lot of projects together.
We've done a lot of work together for probably 10 years prior to this,
Easily.
so it was like seamless, really.
Hold on one second. I'm like, is this really distractive as people are going by? I don't
It's
know.
okay. No,
Okay, rinse and repeat. Okay, so next question. As it relates to, because this is a different type of movie, like when most people think about movies, they think about it getting a screenplay and having all sorts of dialogue, etc. So as an actor, how do you prepare for the flip side like that? Meaning that you don't have dialogue and things like that. Do you find that easier or more difficult?
well, for me, like watching theater or film, I always really appreciate most the quiet moments. I mean, I love great dialogue, but
Sure.
I really appreciate the quiet moments. I think sometimes people try too hard and it's too much. So the quiet moments are really what grabbed me, and I feel really. I remember I did a play where we didn't say a lot, but it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had on stage because you were able to breathe and just be there. So it wasn't really like I had to prepare for not speaking. Just being there. Yeah.
And what was your favorite moment? One favorite moment where you said to yourself, you know what, I love this movie. Like I think we all have that surreal moment where we're like, I know I need to be here at this moment doing this exact thing. And I'd like to know your answer to that as well. And Abigail, we'll get to you. Was there a moment? Because I know that's tough to pinpoint.
I thought there was a moment. I can't think of a moment where I felt that way.
I think for you at the end, because there was a realization Did you remember that? I'm not going to say what it is, but
You mean as my character or me?
you.
Ah, now we're getting somewhere.
I don't remember. Oh, in the Palisades. In the park. And you said something. I'm not going to say it, obviously. But I think you had a realization of something that was cathartic for you.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I feel like just being that. Well, I have to give credit too to Abigail for casting. All of the supporting players are very, very like successful theater actors that we've worked with for a really long
lovely.
time. They're amazing, amazing actors. Denny and Lou and Stephen Boyer.
One of them.
All of them. And so just being with that group of people, you know, when you're in a collaborative environment, like
Yeah.
it just feels right.
Absolutely.
So I think I would say overall that is what always felt feels right when you're amongst a group
Yes.
of really creative, talented, smart people and you're doing your thing. It stands out to me more than any specific moment.
And I absolutely agree. And for you, young lady?
Yeah, it's interesting that you would say that because for me on this project, especially, it was not a moment in the acting. It was a moment of getting my hair done because it was the attention to every detail and everyone being so focused and relaxed at the same time and knowing why we were all there and being so committed and so believing in the project as Abigail said. At the time I had really long hair and that was my real hair done into a curled bob that took a lot of work for a small detail that in some ways is pivotal when it's the accumulation of every detail.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And you, director Abigail,
Yeah.
was there a moment that stood out to you in terms of when creating the style? Any moment in particular, or a poignant moment, if there was one?
Well, no, there were too many. There were too many.
Good answer. That's a great answer. So my other question for you, which is a very important question, because us as filmmakers often talk about female directors, lack of female directors, lack of female-made products, or products where there's a ton of females in them, so to speak. So talk to me a bit about that in terms of, in 2019 now, do you feel that we're well represented as female filmmakers? Are you trying to make a dent in that regard by casting numerous females? Tell me a bit about where you stand on that. I always find that fascinating.
I think I've never let that hold me back, ever. You know, there's always going to be some kind of, well, always has been in the past, some kind of barrier, but I've never actually let that get in the way, ever. And I think, you know, if you start to acknowledge the difficulty, then that becomes an issue.
Yes.
So the only way to counter that is to believe that you're just going to do it. And so that's always been my philosophy, is I'm going to make it happen. And also with, you know, the support of all these amazing women.
Yes.
And men.
Absolutely.
We'll make that difference. And that's really the whole thing that we want to do is, you know, make stories that matter and include everybody, because really we're not so different
I agree.
from each other.
Absolutely. So to wrap this up, we're going to start with you, young lady, once again, and tell us what you've got coming up. So if people want to find you, where do we find you? On the theater, on the big stage? Where are you going to be next?
I am getting very close to finishing up a project that's been years in the making, which is a novel based on a true story, and hoping that will not only be a novel, but also a series, and that should be in the next year or so.
Nice. Mom, when are you going to do a film or something? Because you said you have creativity. So what are you going to do creatively next? We want to know.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, but maybe draw a little more, sketch a
Ooh,
little more than.
we like that.
But I'm pretty good.
We like that.
Yes.
You don't happen to do any like illustrations, do you? Because we need a T-shirt design. Michael's looking, so you know we could just have you help us out.
I can do it, but my brother is the best.
Ah, we like this.
Yeah, there we go.
Aha! We just want to see you. We just want to see you do a little something creative, Mom. We're on Team Mom. Like we want you to be creative.
Well, I think you really could really do them really creative would be sketching. She said,
Huh.
and so I just have to start working at it again.
Absolutely.
It used to come naturally.
Uh-huh. And for you, young lady?
I guess the thing I did, I did a movie last year that should be coming out at some point called Looks That Kill, and I played the town cop, which was
Oh.
really fun because I got to boss people around and wear the uniform. And, yeah.
Nice.
So hopefully.
Ah, very nice. Abigail has 27 projects, so this might take a while. And what do you have going on,
Well,
dear?
immediately, Icarus Starts for Breakfast, which is a film by Holly Harms, which is now on the festival circuit, and that's yeah, it's going to Maine. It's been in 3 festivals, just one on board, and it's going to Maine International Film Festival in July.
Ah, very, very nice. Okay, so the last thing that I want to say, because you guys have never heard my show before, but I usually always wrap it up with something, and so I think it's always important to leave people better than you find them, and so you always should share a sentiment when you have one. One of the reasons why, hands down, this is my personal favorite as a founder is because one of my absolute favorites is Charlie Chaplin.
Oh.
Charlie Chaplin, if you know, had a very troubled background, and as a child, a very poor childhood, and so he used this creativity and this comedic humor to make some beautiful productions. What you may not realize is what you created took some of us to a different place, so that when we get caught up in our own troubled lives or our own tragedies, we have a lovely, beautiful story about beautiful females with a beautiful friendship that just ties itself together with such a lovely, lovely resound. It's delightful, it's engaging, it's elegant, it's exciting, it's everything that old cinema used to be. And I think to myself that if Charlie were alive right now, he would bow his head down, take his hat off, and say, "Bravo, ladies." So I say to you, bravo for a job well done.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.